There's so many people out there that would look at you right now, coming out with this movie and having the career that you have, that would say, okay, Billy, how do I get where you are? How do I achieve what you've achieved? And one of the things that you've done that I'm a big believer is that you took control. There's so many people that say, well, I'm just going to put myself out there as an actor, and I'm going to put my headshot out there, and I'm going to go to auditions. And it's a very passive way to approach this business. And I was always comfortable with anything that where I could use some of my abilities to control the situation a little bit, as a writer, as someone who could think of something for myself. And I look at you and I think you, with Billy on the Street, and because you existed at a time of, social media, YouTube, you were able to create something yourself that gave you all these other opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started out, I went to Northwestern. I was a theater major. I just wanted to be kind of a typical actor. I never even thought of myself as a writer or a comedian. Then I got to New York. I grew up in New York, and then after college, went back to New York to start my career, quote unquote. And, there's millions of people trying to be actors. And I realized very early on that if I just stood in line waiting at this open call with hundreds of other actors for like the regional tour of Brigadoon or whatever it was, which I didn't even want to do. Although shout out to everyone in the cast of the regional tour of Brigadoon. They're wonderful.
I don't want to do what you're doing, but shout out.
Yeah.
I find the way you've spent your life a waste of time.
That's not what I said.
Here's your props.
That is not what I said. But it's just not what I wanted to do.
Yes, yeah.
And
a never-ending purgatory. No, I'm kidding. Please, this is on me now, not on you.
No, seriously, I love the current touring cast of Brigadoon. No, I don't know if that's even touring right now. But I'm not here to talk about Brigadoon.
Let me get this straight. So Billy's new movie is called Brigadoon. It's about a magical land. Wait a minute, I got that wrong.
So I basically started to write for myself, and I was good at it. And I had a live stage show that I did in New York, which is where the Billy on the Street videos started. I would show those videos on a screen. This is before YouTube even existed. This is like 2004, 2005. But then an interesting thing happened where a lot of folks in the industry would come and they would acknowledge that I was talented, or that they thought I was funny, that the audience was laughing a lot, that I was unique, and this, that, and the other thing. But it was always, we don't know what to do with you.
Right.
Or you're very New York. And a lot of times in both overt ways and subtle ways, I was sent the message that I was just too gay.
Yeah.
Right? I was being openly gay on stage. I was talking about gay sex. Now everyone's talking about gay sex.
Right.
But this is 2003. Right?
This is back when you were losing roles to dinosaurs.
Exactly. Dinosaurs were fucking on screen, but I wasn't allowed to. Okay.
Brontosaurus on Stegosaurus was fine.
Yeah, that was fine. A lot of fanboys jerking off to that. But two actual humans having sex, who happen to be men, was alienating. So that message was sent to me many times. But then what happened was the internet came along, and I put my videos online, and after a little while they went viral, and very viral. And I was able to point to all of those people in the industry and say, hey, I'm not to this or to that. This video has millions of views.
Right.
These views aren't coming exclusively from gay people watching in New York City. Look at the comments. They're coming from all over the country and all over the world. And that's when they finally put me on TV. I needed those numbers to point to and say, hey, I have proof that I am not this little niche thing that you assume I am because I'm gay.
Do you ever think about, let's say somehow there's a wrinkle in time, and you're born in the 30s or whatever, you come of age in the 40s or 1950s, and you have all the talent and ability you have now, but there's no internet, there's no there's no YouTube, there's no way to you yourself take control. Do you know what you would have become?
I don't know. I think about that all the time, and it's just, that weighed really heavily on me during the movie. And if you see the movie, I don't want to give it away, but I do speak to this at one point. You know, I'm 43 years old. So when the movie comes out, I'll be 44. So I'm kind of in this interesting midway point between a generation of LGBTQ people and gay men specifically who really saw the world change. Like when they grew up, it was such a repressed time. A lot of them probably can't even imagine the world that we live in today. You know, even though there are still problems and we're still fighting for our rights still, the evolution that has occurred is really remarkable, right? They lived through the AIDS epidemic. There's a lot to unpack there. Then you have a younger generation now, and you see them all over the place of LGBTQ people and Gen Z queer kids, which is amazing. But they stepped into such a different world, such an evolved, accepting world. And again, a world where, thanks to Clarence Thomas and other like fucked up homophobic, you know, self-loathing weirdos, like we're still fighting for our rights and our rights are still very fragile. But again, that generation, a lot to do with the internet, you know, came of age in a time when, you know, things were, if not easy, a lot easier. And I'm kind of weirdly perched in between these two generations that have had a very different experience being LGBTQ. And I wanted the movie to speak to that in a way, because we need to acknowledge, and by the way, I'm making the movie sound like fucking, you know, Out of Africa or something. Like, it's like, it sounds so fucking serious. This is a funny Judd Apatow movie, everybody. It's dinosaurs, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, it's everything you want it to be. But just speaking about it seriously for a moment, because it is a historic movie, you know, you do have to acknowledge those generations of people, and Hollywood, especially, an industry which has so often patted itself on the back for being progressive and gay-friendly, quote unquote. You know, it's a cliche to say that like everyone in Hollywood is gay, you know, that it's this progressive lefty, you know, culture. But really, when you look at the actual history of it, just voting for a Democrat doesn't mean that you are treating LGBTQ people correctly on the day-to-day. And what you see in Hollywood are generations of actors who were stuck with one of two choices: be incredibly bold and come out of the closet publicly and have your professional dreams disappear. Because Hollywood did not give opportunities to people. They did not believe gay could play straight. They did not believe gay people that the majority of the audience wanted to see gay people at all. They made people uncomfortable. If you did get a role, it was horribly stereotypical. You were the butt of the joke, and that was for many years the best you were going to do.
Right.
Or you had to live some Rock Hudson style life, where if you wanted a big career as a movie star or TV star, especially if you wanted to play straight roles, which were the only roles that really existed at the time, you had to live this weird double life. Pretend you were dating women publicly and then secretly live your secret gay life that you were not supposed to talk about. You know, that you could go live in some weird gay enclave somewhere when no one was looking, when the cameras weren't on. And I can only imagine that's the best those guys could do. That's what they were offered. Like, those were their choices. But what horrible choices to have to make. Yeah. Right. And now I don't have to make those choices. Right. And Bros is really a moment to celebrate the fact that we have come a really long way, that the entire movie is made up of openly LGBTQ actors, the entire cast. It's a first. This movie is a first in many ways, and that's one of them. And that's, when you look at the history of it, you know, a 20-year-old queer kid now who may not know the history may say, oh, all right, well, I see gay people everywhere. They're all over my phone. They're all over TV. But if you know the history of Hollywood, especially major studio filmmaking, that is huge. That is a huge moment.
It's very hard. I mean, and also I think you're making the point, and I would agree that it's impossible to expect someone who's 20 or 22 today to completely understand, because they just haven't lived it.
Yeah.
But so much has changed. You know, I'm a good deal older than you, and I've just watched there be such a evolution in how people talk about, you know, not just the LGBTQ community, but race, class. So many things have evolved. And it doesn't mean we okay, we did it, let's all high five each other, we're done. It has to keep going.
Right.
We have to keep, but it is a positive in a world of negativity. It is a positive perspective to have.
Yeah.
That these things have changed, and young people, today, maybe they can be impatient for it should be better than it is right away, and I understand that, and maybe
Right.
that's really important. That's the rocket fuel. It's like, okay, you guys think this is, look how far we've come. I don't care about that because I'm 22, and I think this is the least of where we should be.
Yeah.
Which is probably the right perspective.
I do get inspired by that generation, though, because I always thought I was very bold and outspoken. But they really push the boundaries, especially when it comes to sex and being very open about it, and queer sex and gay sex. And I sometimes see what's posted on Instagram from my younger gay friends, and I'm like, wow. Okay.
Oh, so suddenly you're the old school marm.
No, exactly. No, I'm like,
I don't think that's appropriate at all.
I'm like Mrs. Garrett all of a sudden. And they're like Tootie and Natalie running wild on roller skates throughout the house. And I'm like, girls, I don't know if this is okay. But it is okay.
You're the modern Mrs. Garrett. I love it. I've always wondered, what is Billy?
Yes.
You're the Mrs. Garrett
That
of our
nails
time.
it.
You
Yeah.
nailed it.
R.I.P. Charlotte Ray. We both went to Northwestern, by the way. And if only Mrs. Garrett were alive to see Bros, put that on the poster. but no, the younger kids, the younger queer kids are inspiring me. It's like, okay, we can have a few sex scenes in Bros, and people will embrace that, and it's actually really fun and exciting, and it's okay. We don't have to be scared of that anymore. And I'm happy. I need that push from that generation myself a little bit.
You were talking about the beginning. You're meeting all this resistance. You're making these videos, but you don't know. And a lot of people have this moment, like, I certainly had this throughout my 20s. Is this going to work? Am I going to make it?
Yeah.
I had it into my 30s. Like, is this going to gel? Do I have a career? It's terrifying.
Yeah, and you still really haven't answered that.
To be fair, it's funny. I have not, and that's how it feels to me all the time. And it's funny because I had I was talking to a bunch of young kids that came in to our studio before we wrapped things up, and I remembered one of them. They all asked questions, and one of them said, "When do you stop being nervous and worrying about? When does that stop?" And I said, "Oh, do I have bad news for you?"
Yeah,
and
seriously.
This woman was like 19 or 20, and I was telling her, "It never stops."
Yeah.
And she looked a little horrified.
You told her the exact wrong thing.
I told her the truth.
Right thing.
I told her the
but
truth.
Exactly what she didn't want to hear.
She isn't even going to try in show business. She's an orthopedic surgeon now, and making a lot more money. But I know that early on you did have people that saw something. I know Joan Rivers saw something in you early on, and she really encouraged you, right?
Yeah, she was the greatest. My first real TV job was a pilot for Bravo that did not get picked up because in 2006, if you were gay and wanted to be on TV, they shipped you off to Bravo. Literally, it was like an LGBTQ orphanage. It was like, you're talented, but you're a gay man.
I just picture them shoving you into a giant FedEx tube and then putting Bravo on it, and dropping it in the mail.
That's literally, and it was so odd because I was on stage in New York doing, this sort of Billy on the Street style persona, which I eventually, captured in the videos that we did. But that started on stage, so it was this very absurdist, subversive thing that I was doing. It was not Bravo. Right? But simply because I was gay, they were like, all right, well, maybe Bravo will do something with you. That was always the answer at the time, which is very funny, but also when you think about it, kind of fucked up,
Right.
I remember pitching a few shows to Comedy Central at the time, and the shows revolved around me. So, they would revolve around a gay man. One was a scripted show. One was Billy on the Street, I think. Mm-hmm. And what was said to my face was, well, you're brilliant. We think you're hilarious. We obviously can't do that here, but I think if you go to Bravo, you'll have a home run.
Yeah.
Like someone said that to my face, thinking that was like a helpful thing. And then years later, he actually apologized for it after I was successful. But
that's good. I always do award points.
Yeah.
I've had people say terrible things to me in the early '90s and then come back later on and own it, and say I was wrong. And then later come back and say I was right. It just keeps coming.
Yeah.
And this is my dad, by the way.
It's a vicious cycle.
There's the old twist ending. So this episode brought to you by O. Henry.
So anyway, sure enough, Bravo did put me on a pilot in 2006, and the pilot was called Joan Rivers' Straight Talk. And the idea was it was a primetime version of The View, but instead of Barbara Walters and 4 different types of women, it was going to be Joan Rivers and 4 different types of gay men talking about pop culture and politics, a panel show, basically. And they cast me on the pilot, so Joan came to my live show. You know, I auditioned for it, and she really liked me, and then she came to check me out on my live show, and she really just loved what I did. She really got me.
Yeah.
And we did that pilot. Andy Cohen was on that pilot before he had his own show. He was on the panel. Elsie Granderson, who's a sports columnist, I believe, and broadcaster, and another guy. And it didn't get picked up, unfortunately, but it was an amazing experience. And I got close with Andy Cohen, who's still a good friend, and I got really close with Joan. And she really became like a mentor to me. I mean, I could go on and on about how insanely supportive she was for no reason. The pilot didn't get picked up. She had no reason to deal with me. And yet she really was so helpful. Joan, this was a few years before Joan had her resurgence, if you remember. And, Joan had been blacklisted from a lot of the late night talk shows. Like, we know this story, and she hadn't done The Tonight Show in many years, and Letterman hadn't had her on in many years.
Just to refresh people's memory who don't know, it was because she had been a huge star as a guest on Johnny Carson.
Guest host.
That's what I mean, a guest host.
Yeah.
That was appointment television when Joan Rivers was going to host The Tonight Show and Johnny Carson was taking a break. And we're going way back into the 80s, but it was an event because she took the oxygen out of the room. She was so funny. And it was a huge event. And then she went on to do her own show, and that was seen as a betrayal.
Yeah, she did one of the first shows on Fox.
Yeah.
Right when Fox started, she did her own late night show. Johnny wasn't leaving the show, his own show at that point. So Joan went and did her own show, and he got extremely mad and basically had her blacklisted from late night TV for the rest of her career up until, I don't know, like 10 years before she died. And so she did have a career resurgence, though, and Letterman did have her back on, and Fallon had her on The Tonight Show for the first time in many years. Kimmel had her on, and no one knew who I was at that point. And Joan told me, she said, I'm about to do all the late night shows for the first time in decades. Put your Billy on the Street videos, put some of your favorite ones on a DVD, and make copies and leave them at my apartment, and I am going to bring the producers of all of those shows your DVD and tell them, you have to know this Billy Eichner guy, watch these videos. She had been blacklisted from late night talk shows, which was so heartbreaking to her, for decades. And on her first time back making the rounds, she reached out to me and said, I'm going to drop off your DVDs and let these people know who you are. And years later, after she died, when I ended up doing Letterman myself and doing Kimmel myself, I remember the showrunners at those shows said, you know what's so funny? A few years ago, Joan Rivers was here and dropped off DVDs of you and told us about you before we knew who you were. And which is just an incredible thing to do. It was so generous. And,
well, it's clearly she, first of all, this is someone who knew talent. She had, her own story is so incredible.
Yeah.
And what she had to put up with and what she had to overcome. But then, there are people who are very passionate about how it should work. And when they see someone who's good, they really feel compelled to get the word out on them, which is a great quality and not always common.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who see other talented people and say, maybe feel threatened by them or think, well, that's not my issue. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
I've spent a whole career trying to crush young talent.
Yeah. And you have.
I've
famously.
successfully. There's so many very talented young people that have never made it because of me.
That's right.
And this was just me feeling insecure, and I don't regret it.
It was part of your strategy.
It was part of my strategy, and it helped elevate me to crush them.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You did it.
Yeah, so many people, you'll never, ever see them. Never know who they are.
Yeah.
I tried to crush you many times, remember?
Good luck, asshole. Here I am, in spite of you. In spite of you and the Velociraptors and Sonic the Hedgehog and the guy who ran Comedy Central and BJ Novak, I'm still here.
First time I saw Billy on the street, I was like, he's good. A little too good.
He must be stopped.
He must be stopped. And remember all those attempts on your life and you didn't know who was behind it?
Yeah,
that was me.
That was you. Well, I'm honored, honestly. Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
You were always rich, but now I think you've bought 3 countries or something. You are very wealthy.
I inherited a few countries at birth.
Okay. Yes.
And that's just something people should know. As a child, and this is very unusual in an Irish Catholic family, but I inherited 9 islands in Greece.
Oh.
Yeah, and I've been holding on to them, and then I sold them.
Yeah, you are a very wealthy man. I respect that about you. I was actually thinking this because
who says that? I respect. You've earned. Not a big fan of Trump, but then I found out that he had some money, and I do respect that.
But you've earned your wealth. He got it from his dad, and he's also a horrible person.
My father gave me nothing.
So
nothing. Nothing.
But here's what
all I wanted was a hug.
Here's what I was gonna say.
Oh shit!
Because there are. There's a question of whether straight people will go see Bros, right?
Yes.
There's like this big question mark hanging over the movie, and I really hope straight people do go see Bros because it's really, really funny, and we need you to go see it, right? Because we want to make money at the box office so that people keep making these movies, and we prove to the world that this is a good thing. We need more of it. That this is a worthwhile venture to keep making movies about gay people. But instead of a lot of straight people going, Conan, we could just have you buy one $20 million ticket.
I'll do it.
To go see it.
I'll do it.
And that's as much as we need. That's
Is
our
the
whole
ticket
opening
made
weekend
of
right
gold?
there. Yeah, exactly.
And rainforest wood?
That's all it would take.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
No, but also, let me reassure you. First of all, you claim I have all this money. Sona will tell you I've made some terrible investments.
Yeah, you have.
Really, really bad investments.
Right.
I bought up all the VHS machines about 8 years ago.
Wow.
Because I thought that was coming back.
Yeah.
I've done some terrible.
I had to loan him a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She loaned me
and I'm
money.
his assistant.
Yeah.
That's
I
unfortunate.
have, but she has it now because, well, anyway, she's got all the money.
Off his back.
Yeah, and also you embezzled from me, and you're not even a good embezzler, but I'm so stupid about money that you got away with it.
I told you I was embezzling.
Yeah, and I didn't know what that word meant. And that's why she's not in prison, because they said she did tell you she was embezzling. I was like, well, I didn't know what it meant. I thought that meant she just had warm, fuzzy feelings. I'm all embezzly about you. But no, I'll tell you, first of all, Billy, in my opinion, and I believe this passionately, you are funny first. Before I know anything else about you, you're just funny. And in my experience, that is what everyone's hungry for. They're hungry for they're hungry for a movie or a television show or a moment or performance that is funny. You're also a talented actor. And I know I have not seen this film yet, but I'm going to go see this movie.
Thank you.
I know that you are going to be very relatable, and this is going to be good, and it's going to be very funny, but also touching in moments. And I think that is the home run. That's going to be the home run. And yes, I think the word on Bros or your work is going to be, this is good.
Yeah.
And not, it's good for America. Of course, it's good for society. It's good for the world. But I just think it being funny is what's going to sustain you because that's what sustained you your whole career.
That's true.
You know, you have that ability, and you know, that's how I met you. That's how all of us met you, was because you made it happen. You're super talented.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and it is. It's weird to say about my own movie, but I've now watched a lot of, you know, early audiences at screenings react to it. It is a really fucking funny movie. Like, it is
again with the language.
It is well, I'm
when
sorry.
A straight person swears, I think we've established.
Didn't George Carlin say that? I think, Conan.
It's so weird. What a weird hill for me to die on.
Yeah, only straight people.
Everything, like, I haven't pissed.
Yeah.
But just like, you know, this is one thing I'm not backing down on.
After 30 years, this takes you down.
Yeah, I just think only straight people should swear. I don't know why I'm Nixon again, but I believe only straight people should swear.
Those are the current topical references that you listen to this podcast to hear.
I meant Cynthia Nixon. That's what I meant. I never said Richard Milhouse, but this is how Cynthia Nixon talks now.
Why? Because she's gay? I'm leaving, Conan. Not all lesbians talk like Richard Nixon, regardless of what you think.
You're tired of that old trope?
Exactly.
You're so tired of that old trope that all lesbians talk like Richard Nixon.
All lesbians talk like Richard Nixon and all gay men fuck like LBJ. It's just not true. It's just not true, no matter what Hollywood wants you to think.
Haldeman, Ehrlichman, let's all get in the car and go see Thelma and Louise. That's the story for us, boys. Then we'll get back to the Watergate and get that safe cracked.
What a strange joke.
What a weird
run.
Joke. Yeah, what a weird run.
You're like, don't worry, Billy, you're relatable, just like me and my lesbian sound like Richard Nixon material. So relatable. You're welcome, Middle America. I'm the next Jeff Foxworthy over here.
I'm worried I just hurt bros. People are going to be like, I don't want to go see that. Nixon's a lesbian in this movie? And he's being raped by a dinosaur?
Pat Nixon fucked Sonic the Hedgehog and bros? That's the first LGBTQ rom-com?
What's happened to Apatow? He's lost his mind. I want to compliment you because
thank you.
You can't. Well, that's all we have.
Well, I've been waiting to hear that. Yes. But you didn't say that to BJ Novak.
You're not even curious what the compliment is. I love that. No interest. You're just happy it's a compliment.
Yep.
No, first of all, I've known you a long time, always consistently hilarious. And then you did this podcast way back in June of 2019. So that's like a long time, even before COVID.
Right.
And when you were on that podcast, you, first of all, you said you had mixed feelings about being my friend, which is fine.
I've evolved.
You've evolved.
Yes, the culture has evolved. You know, during COVID, I sat around, I did some real soul searching, and I said, maybe I am okay with Conan O'Brien existing in the world.
Well, so one good thing came out of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but on that podcast, you described this project that you were working on, and let me tell you something. Everybody does that. I mean, you came on and you said, well, I have this dream, which is you wanted to make this movie. And you wanted me make a romantic comedy, you know, a gay romantic rom-com.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, yeah, but everybody says they've got a project in mind that's going to be available someday in the future if all goes well.
Right.
Here you are now back on the podcast, and you've made the movie and you're promoting it.
We made the movie. It is coming out. It's not only coming out, it's coming out in a wide release made by Universal Studios in thousands of theaters all over North America, and then, strangely, the world.
Right.
Except the countries that are homophobic, which is interesting.
Wait,
there won't be a Saudi Arabian premiere of my gay rom-com anytime soon.
That's where I wanted to see it.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I did. I called the Cineplex Odeon in Saudi Arabia, and I said I want my ticket to Bros.
Nope.
The Billy Eichner groundbreaking rom-com.
You booked the
and
ticket.
and they kept saying it is not available, and I said that's a glitch.
Yep. Nope, not a glitch. That's just how it is in certain parts of the world. But I'm happy that it's getting released elsewhere where they don't hate gay people.
This is landmark because what's first of all, I mean, I want to talk about the whole arc of your career because that's the kind of time we have.
Yeah.
I've booked 6 hours for this.
I'm gonna need more than that, but okay.
No, I looked into it. 6 hours will cover it. But I'm very excited for you because your mission statement with this movie was you said you're not interested in depicting a version of queer life that is palatable. And I thought that is so intriguing and fascinating to me. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, Bros, which is the rom-com I have coming out, produced by Judd Apatow, who, as all of you probably know, has made some of the funniest movies of the past 20 years, Bridesmaids and Trainwreck and 40-Year-Old Virgin, and the list goes on. And I wrote it with Nick Stoller, and Nick directed it, and he directed Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Neighbors, and these guys have a great legacy of making great comedies. And Nick came to me back like 5 years ago and said, I want my next movie to be a romantic comedy, but I think it would be cool if it was about a gay couple. But he acknowledged that he's not gay, and he asked me if I would write it with him and I could star in it if all went well and he would direct it. And I said, obviously, yes, a huge opportunity, one that I never saw coming in my life. But the first thing I said to Nick is, even before I knew what the story of the movie would be, I said, it has to be authentic, right? You can't just make When Harry Met Sally and think you can just swap in two gay guys and have the story play out the same way, because it wouldn't. Because yes, there is a lot of overlap in straight relationships and gay relationships, but also it is a little different. Two men together is different, and there's a lot of comedy to be mined from that, and also a lot of, poignant moments and more thought-provoking moments, and it's just a different experience. And I think a lot of the LGBTQ characters we've seen, and we're seeing way more, obviously, than we used to, especially in streaming and in indie films and on the internet, of course, and that's fantastic. That is a wonderful thing. But so much of it is done with an eye towards making us these, like, cutesy, two-dimensional characters that really are nothing like the actual gay men I know in my life.
Right.
Or like me. I watch a lot of those shows and a lot of those sitcoms, and even when they're very funny, I think, I don't know who those people are. Those are gay characters designed to not freak out straight people.
Right.
And I give straight people a lot more credit than that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of straight friends. My show, Billy on the Street, that I've done for years, has a huge fan base among straight people. Conan, you are theoretically straight. You've always
you know what?
been a fan.
I go in and out. I don't know what that means.
Everyone does now.
You find some guys attractive, I think, and you've
Oh,
spoken
totally.
very openly about it.
I'm very open about.
Yes.
There are men where I totally get it.
Yeah.
And like Brad Pitt, I just think like that's a really good looking guy.
Yeah.
So
and then I call him and it gets weird.
Oh.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and then, you're... Well, I won't go there. But
I just did.
Yes.
I went there in my head.
But yeah, I just thought, I don't think we're giving straight people enough credit. Like, funny is funny. If you make a really funny Judd Apatow movie that happens to be about a gay couple, then straight people will love that. And it's not only funny, it's kind of fascinating.
Yes.
Because you're getting a peek into a world, a culture of dating, of love, of sex that you think you might know, but you don't really know.
Right.
And that was really important to me. I thought that would be exciting and hilarious. And I'm happy to say so far, when we do early screenings of the movie, a lot of the audience is straight. Most of the world is still straight. And they love it. It's really funny. It's just a fucking funny movie.
Okay, what's the language?
Why? Because I'm gay?
Yes! It's okay when straight people swear.
BJ Novak said every curse word on here.
I think I'm pretty evolved, but I still believe
Yeah.
that gay people shouldn't swear, but straight people should.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Conan O'Brien, and I just got canceled.
Welcome to Newsmax, the new home of Conan O'Brien.
That's the only thing I've carved out, is that swearing is only for straight people. No, but is it possible that the first wave of representation on sitcoms needed to be that way, that there needed to be an evolution, or there needed to be a first wave that was more, I want to just say, user-friendly for people, that, starting in the late 80s, early 90s, this is the way it kind of maybe had to lay out, where now we can get the point where you, Billy, can make a movie that really is telling it from a real point of view, as opposed to, let's water this down.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There has been an evolution, and I'm really grateful that, when I went to Judd and Nick and I said that I wanted it to be really authentic, it's a Judd Apatow movie. His movies are wild and raunchy and fun, and also very heartwarming and uplifting. And I just said I wanted it to be all of those things, and there's no reason it shouldn't be. And they said, yeah, let's just go for it. If it's honest, it'll be funny and relatable to everyone. And we're just in a weird industry that made 2 movies about a talking hedgehog before they made 1 gay rom-com. You know what I mean? Right. So
I have my own hedgehog movie coming out.
No one worried about whether or not Sonic the Hedgehog was relatable. We made 50 movies about dinosaurs, prehistoric, extinct creatures, and we never made 1 gay rom-com. Nobody said, God, I hope that Velociraptor is endearing to straight people.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So the Velociraptor's going to rip off the kid's throat and then shoot acid into his eyes to blind him.
No one ever said, is middle America ready for dinosaurs? But that's the question that lingers over a movie about 2 actual human beings who walk the earth, meeting and falling in love and, driving each other crazy the way, people do. Hi, my name is Billy Eichner, and I feel over the goddamn moon about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
That's the angriest anyone's ever said that. Well, how you feeling today? Over the goddamn moon!
I am so fucking grateful. Thanks for throwing me a bone. A crumb. Thanks, world. Thank you for letting me on your podcast. What an honor.
You made it past the velvet rope onto my podcast.
Exactly. What an exclusive group. Composed of I don't know who.
Exactly.
BJ Novak and Dave Coulier was probably here at one point.
It's funny because just before we started taping, I was like, "Oh yeah, BJ Novak was here yesterday. Who I love. He's great." And then I just started attacking you. I said, "You sir are no BJ Novak."
Yes. Look, I'm an aspiring BJ Novak.
Exactly.
I'm a BJ Novak for the little man.
You know what's so funny, Billy? First of all, I adore you, and I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. It's so funny because I was like a good boy doing my research today. Not that I have to, because I know you so well and I've been a fan for so long. And then this little tidbit comes across my page as I'm scanning through info on you and bio stuff that you were a waiter for a while. And I was thinking, you as a waiter would terrify the shit out of me.
I was a terrible waiter.
I would think so, yeah.
I didn't last long. I waited tables in New York. When I was a struggling actor, a lot of my friends were doing that. So they got me a job waiting tables. They were all pretty good at it, and I was terrible. And then I remember the manager, after one of my first training days, I sat down at the bar, and I was my brain was fried. I have so much respect for waiters in Manhattan,
me too.
especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a native New Yorker. I love New York more than anything, but we can be awful, especially, the rich ones. And I mean, that's just the truth. I experienced it. And then I sat down at the bar at the end of the day, and the manager came up to me, this very nice young woman, and she said, "You had a really hard day, huh?" Because she saw I was struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did, and I quickly kind of pivoted to being a bartender, which was a much better job.
Well, that's the other thing is a surly bartender, there's something cool and edgy about a surly bartender. And it makes sense to me because you're asking for your alcohol, and if they treat you badly, it somehow makes sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well,
oh, here's your alcohol.
The bartender has power.
Yes.
You know, like people want that drink. There's only one of you or two of you, so they want your attention. It's a much sexier job.
Yes.
You know? So
Yes. Tom Cruise in Cocktail.
I was just thinking Cocktail because we're the same generation.
And also, all I think about is that movie Cocktail.
All the time. You know what was also from that movie Cocktail? Kokomo.
Yes.
By the Beach Boys.
Yeah. Gonna take it fast and then we'll take it slow. That's where we wanna go.
Way down to Coca, Bermuda, Jamaica. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, they all vote for Trump, so fuck them.
Oh no!
I think most of the Beach Boys are MAGA.
Yeah.
Beach Boys or Proud Boys would be a fun game to play. Not John Stamos, probably. He plays the drums.
The Beach Boys, it's the only rock group I've ever gone to see where they all came out and they were wearing blue blazers.
By the way, the only rock group you've ever seen is the Beach Boys?
No, that had blue blazers.
That
had blue blazers.
I see.
And they weren't, and I never did go see them. I was painting a little bit of a word picture there.
I see.
But I think you as a waiter, I just find if you came up to my table and said, "What do you want to hear about the specials?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about them?" I'd be so intimidated. I'd say, "You just tell us what we're going to eat, and then I'm going to leave the money and not even eat it."
What do you want, a beverage, you fucking asshole? What do you need, an extra spoon? Go fuck yourself.
Famously, you're supposed to be on the very first Saturday Night Live, October 11th, 1975, which is now celebrating its 50th. So it's unbelievably, it's been half a century. And I've read accounts from you that you're supposed to be on that show, the show that is going to change everything. You're there, you've got a sketch, it gets cut, and you said you were riding like the subway home thinking, that's it.
Yeah.
What I always find fascinating now is if you could see the whole palette of everything, you wouldn't change a thing.
No.
You couldn't. How could it get any better for you? But in that moment...
Oh, boy. And now, Conan, I have to relive it because of the film, of Jason Reitman's wonderful film.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he had a screening for The Survivors of that night. The original, Lorraine Newman was there, Garrett Morris was there, and me. And it was particularly heartbreaking at the time because I was 25 and I was part of the planning of the show. It wasn't just coming to that show that night. Lauren, who I thought was the coolest guy, I'm new into my stand-up life too at that point. I'm only into it like 8-9 months, and things were really going like well. I wrote a lot, and I was really starting to find my way. And I meet this Lorne Michaels at Catch a Rising Star, and he tells me about the show, and so on and so forth. And he said, "I'd love you to be on the first show." And then I'm playing The Bitter End in New York, and he brings Chevy, Dave Tebbett, who was the head of talent at NBC at the time, Dick Ebersol, Gilda. So I was like part of these are the young people who we're going to have on the show. And so I was like, wow, this is going to be the thing. And the comedy guests were Andy Kaufman, myself, and a Canadian comedienne named Valerie Bromfield.
Yeah.
And so I was doing this piece, which I just sort of found out how to do it, and it was by accident. And it's a jungle safari movie of the Victor Mature, Rhonda Fleming kind of the Great White Hunter, and it's a scene where the tarantula's on her body, and he walks across the camp late at night and knocks it off, and they fall in love. That's the scene. I take somebody from the audience, and I have a huge bowl of potato chips that's mic'd, And I get the audience to do bird calls, and every time I take a step, she crunches the potato chips loud, or he does, and it gets very environmental.
Yeah.
I get like 3 people on stage, bird calls, and I'm pointing, and so that was the piece I was going to do, but I was going to use Don Pardo,
the announcer.
He was the announcer with just a close up of his hands and his wonderful silly voice. Now what do I do, Bill? That thing.
Yeah.
And so Friday night, there was a dress rehearsal, live audience, and it did really well. And it was a real highlight of the night. The other sketches were so-so, did not.
Yeah.
And there were 2 musical guests, and George Carlin was the host doing like 3 or 4 monologues. So at the notes afterwards, Lauren's sitting at home base. I remember I was sitting between Gilda and Lorraine, and he looks at me making cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts, and he says, Billy, I need 2 minutes. I said, take 2 minutes out? He goes, no, I need 2 minutes. And I went, I'm screwed. I don't have anything that's 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes just to do the setup.
Yeah.
And I could condense it. I could do that, but Lauren, afterwards, I said, I don't have anything else. He says, well, let's think about it. It's Friday at midnight.
Yeah.
Saturday, I come back. The rundown, I'm on at 12:55, which already is dicey.
Yes.
That's the last comedy spot.
Whenever you'd see, when I was a writer there, whenever your sketch was on at 12:55, you'd think all it takes is for one sketch to run a little long, and you're going to get nudged into, well, we'll do it next week. But it never, once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
Hard to explain, but it's gone.
So I see that. So I call my managers and everyone. So they come over. And it was, Lauren's putting together his very first show.
Yeah.
It's so hectic. It's crazy. And this is the first one. So I'm just waiting, camera blocking, run through it again. It's this weight over here, weight over there. It's not looking good. It's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. So at 8:30, my manager comes out and says, come on, we're going. What? We try to get it 5 minutes in the first hour. He can't do it. George is doing 4 monologues. There's 2 songs. And come on, let's just get the hell out of here. And I went, and that was it. And then I find myself on the Long Island Railroad, subway to Penn Station, Long Island Railroad, to go home, to call the relatives to say, don't watch. I mean, there's no cell phone. There's nothing. You had to dial.
Yes, yeah.
And then the reactions. What'd you do? You got fired? What did you say to the man? What'd you do? Open a mouth? That thing. And I thought, that's it. I'm done. Lauren then brought me back for show 19 with Ron Nesson, who was Gerald Ford's press secretary.
Yep.
He hosted the show. I did that. And then I didn't do it again for 8 years until I hosted.
But then you come back as a cast member.
Yeah.
And again, these things are so much bigger than us, but everyone's trajectory is probably the trajectory they're supposed to have.
Yes.
So you went off and had all this other success, but then came back and was able to dominate on SNL in that season in a very special way that would not have been possible in the first 5 years.
No, I was ready.
Yeah, you were ready.
See, what we had talked about in the beginning was that I was to do like 6 appearances over like the first 2 seasons, and then be sort of the first non-celebrity host. It was like growing from the farm system up. And then I go off. And I end up on Howard Cosell's Saturday Night Live on ABC.
Right.
And then I moved to California, playing places, doing pretty well. And then I get Soap.
You get Soap.
But, so now I'm playing one character, which I really, really enjoyed, learned a lot, great cast, controversial show and character.
Really brilliant, though. I mean, way ahead of its time.
Way, and really one of the real geniuses that I ever met was Susan Harris, who wrote the first 68 episodes by herself.
Wow.
Amazing. But I kept looking back at 8H,
going,
that's where I should have been. And, I was having a successful time, but I didn't feel like myself. And then I did my first HBO special in 79 that did very well, and another one in 84 that also did very well. And then Dick Ebersol called and said, would you host? And I did 2 that year. And that summer he called me and said, listen, I got an idea. If I could get Chris Guest and Marty and Harry Shearer, would you come for a year? I said, let me think about it. Yes. I just knew it was the right thing.
Yeah.
And we packed up the kids and we moved to New York, and I had the time of my life, and I felt like I was where I was supposed to be, but now I was supposed to be there, It all felt right.
You've got a lot of moments to remember, but when I think I had left SNL, I think I'm doing the late night show, but there's an anniversary special for SNL. And I don't know if it was an anniversary special for SNL or maybe a salute to NBC 50. I don't know. There was some salute, something. And you came out as your
Fernando
character.
It was the 25th anniversary.
It was the 25th. Okay. But what I remember is that you come out and Gary Busey is in the audience.
Yes.
And Gary Busey, who's, been through some stuff, Gary Busey suddenly thinks that it's okay for him to just shout out on this live tribute show to Fernando, and he starts heckling you.
Yes.
And you start talking. It was so funny because it was live television, and you don't see that on SNL.
He came towards me.
Yes. I was there. I was sitting in the crowd.
I'm doing this little thing, and I think I had a minute 45 scheduled, and it's going well. And I look out, and I'm picking up people, and then and I say, well, Gary Busey, you're alive. You're alive. And he got mad, and he came towards the set, and I had to restrain him.
He got up and starts walking. And then you were doing a great job of having fun with it.
Yeah.
You were so funny and in the moment. And it was electric because you thought, I don't know where this is going. Maybe you'll get choked out. I don't know what's going to happen. But you were making it really funny and in the moment. And I thought, I don't see this in 8H a lot. Sometimes there has to be some improvisation.
The thing about Fernando was they were all improvised.
Yeah.
All the hideaways that we did was so much fun because I wasn't sure what I was going to say until I said it. Mm-hmm. The hideaway set would roll out right in front of the audience, right where the news usually is, right? And it was the booth and all that stuff. And the audience could see that the cue card guys went away. So it was just me talking to whoever the host would be.
Right.
Oh, we had Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, which was very funny. Mm-hmm. And then Barry Manilow, he was playing Radio City Music Hall, and he was scheduled to be the guest in the hideaway. At 10 after 11, he calls Dick Ebersol and said he's not coming. Mm-hmm. He's too scared. He doesn't want to be made fun of. He's nervous about improvising. So he decides he's not coming. So we have a 6-minute slot that Dick says, So I'm looking around and I see one of our camera guys. His name is Bobby Ferraccio. Mm-hmm. Bobby, did you know Bobby?
Yep.
All right. Bobby weighed about 400 pounds. He was a large man. I went over to him and I said, Bobby, it's a crazy idea. Manilow just canceled. Why? No, calm down. Goddamn Manilow! Would you come into the hideaway with me and play him? And I'll introduce the fact that he's not there, but I can't disappoint my fans, and we'll just do it. And he goes, do I get paid extra? I said, ask Dick. I don't know. He says, okay,
a little,
okay.
Yeah.
And so we did it, and it was really funny. And he was just so delightful and real. And it just, they were all just so spontaneous. That's what the show was supposed to be. And that's the world I love to live in. My year there, for me, I used everything in my toothpaste that I had, you know.
Yeah.
I just loved every second of it. But that was an example of really being comfortable and confident with myself. Mm-hmm. And Bobby was great. And then we thought, well, what about for the rest of the season? Nobody shows up, and it's always Bobby. It would be pretty, you know. And he said, no, my neighbors killed me, Bill. My neighbors killed me. He starts singing. I write the songs. He starts singing stuff. Oh, it's really delightful. It was great.
Media entertainment has changed so much. One of the ways it's changed is that people used to all be on the same page.
Yeah.
For better or worse, when you were early on hosting the Oscars, was maybe one of the last times when you've got the right guy doing the job, but it's not just that. You got the right person doing the job, but you also have everybody's on the same page. It's tougher now, I think, because I watch a lot of movies, and oftentimes when I'm watching, and I'm in entertainment, and I haven't seen 7 of the things they're talking about. Whereas when I think about the shows when you were hosting, you had amazing, great material. You're very comfortable. You're in charge of the room, but also everybody's gathered around the campfire. And it felt like a time that might not come back.
I agree. Because people were going to movies, and there were movie stars, real movie stars. We didn't have streaming. We didn't have anything else. You went to the movie theater.
Yeah.
And when I started doing the show, I was now part of the movie world. I had hosted the Grammys 3 years prior to that. And then now, one after the other, had a couple of really good, movie hits that I earned my way to the show.
You don't have to have movie hits anymore.
No.
You put a pressure on yourself that, I mean, God bless you for having those and for doing that. But also when Carson was hosting the Oscars, which he did many times, he had never had a movie hit before. So you put a pressure on yourself that was unnecessary.
Right.
I wish I had been there to tell you. But I was way too young and you wouldn't have known who I was.
But you're that kid from Universal, right?
You don't have to do it, Billy.
The coffee was cold. That first time was really special. I had been a presenter the year before in the terrible show. That this was a non-host, Rob Lowe singing. I was a presenter.
He's still hiding out from that one. Yeah,
I was a presenter on that show.
Yeah.
And went pretty well. And then they asked me to do it. But I remember feeling not nervous. I was actually excited to go out there because we had good stuff.
Yeah.
And I had one writer, Robert Wall.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Wall, who's a very good actor, too. He's actually in the SNL movie. He plays Davy Wilson.
Okay.
It was just he and I. And we had done the 3 Grammys together. And we had a great way to work together, and it was just us. And it was just like, let's get out there because we felt really confident. When you would do your show and you do a monologue, you knew your jokes were really good.
No, I don't.
You never felt that.
I think you forgot who you're talking to. But no, I know. I do know the feeling of I think this stuff is really good, and I'm excited to go out.
Yeah. And then I'm prepared.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out there and Nicholson was right there in the front, who would later become like my partner on the show.
Yeah.
And we wrote jokes about him because he had made that huge deal for the Batman thing, and he'd made the Joker, and he made like a $40-50 million something.
Right.
It was one of those pay me later things. And we did jokes about him. Jack is so wealthy, Morgan Freeman drove him here tonight.
And the great thing is he's laughing.
Oh, big time.
See, that's the thing, too, is that having the great joke and going after an icon of that status, but then they're laughing. That's magic.
Oh, yeah, and I did 3.
Because they don't always laugh.
No, I said, Jack's so rich. I remember the sequence. Jack is so rich, he bought land in Japan. Jack is so rich, Morgan Freeman drove. And the last one was, and I said to the audience, I got one more if you want it.
Yeah.
And he was and that was relaxing me.
Yeah.
I said, Jack is so rich, John Peters still cuts his hair. Now, John Peters was the head of the studio.
Yeah, who had been a hairdresser.
Who had been a hair guy.
Yeah.
and it was going just great. And there's an 18-minute gap. We call the Rosemary Woods gap in the show where it's sound effects editing, and there's no host. So I'm in my dressing room, and I'm getting a sandwich, fixing my makeup and all this stuff. And who is it? It's Jack and Warren. So I go, Jack and Warren who? Yeah. So open it. It's Warren Beatty and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, did you upset? Are you kidding me? Thanks for talking about my money, kid. And he said, I just want to say one thing. It's great you're doing this. Keep doing it. And it's just so important that you're here, and we love you both. For both of us just want you to have a great rest of the show, and we're going to have a little thing later at the Hacienda if you want to come by. I said, he's got a Hacienda. Yeah. I never knew anyone had a hacienda. I thought only in Zorro did somebody have a hacienda. But that was the most selfless, wonderful feeling that it had connected with him. It was great.
You've had a lot of these fun, crazy moments that you sometimes must wake up and think, wait a minute, did that happen?
Yeah,
did that
I know.
Did that really happen?
Here's another one. I'm introducing Bob Hope is in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob at that point could not hear very well. I did not know that. And he's sitting next to his wife, and I said, this is my, whatever time it was, 6th or 7th, I've done 9, something. And I said, Bob, I'm just renting your house for a while. Mm-hmm. Just, ladies and gentlemen, the great Bob Hope, and he knows the camera's on. They're roving through the audience with the mini cam on him, and he knows, and then the camera goes away, and he looks at me, and he slips me the finger, just fooling, like thank you, like that, yeah. And I just cracked, and it was just so great. The next day, I get a handwritten note delivered to my house.
Yeah.
Which I have framed at home from Bob Hope. Very nice things he said. You could do this, you could do that, and that. And he said, but why didn't you call me to play your brother in Mr. Saturday Night? I would have saved you a fortune on makeup. keep doing it, Bob. That's great things. Hi, my name is Billy Crystal, and I'm just not sure about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
Okay, I admire your honesty, first of all.
There's a lot riding on this.
There for both of us,
yeah.
Actually.
No, I have available days during the week.
So if this works out, we could actually start hanging out on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, I would like that.
Yeah. Well, you're not sure yet. We're going to see how this goes.
Shouldn't it be like that?
It should be like that. I'm going to tell you, I saw you at a school event not long ago, and we're chatting, and this thing just popped into my head, and I said it to you, which is, who has checked more boxes in their career than Billy Crystal? And I said, no, seriously, I'm thinking about this right now, ticking off every category that you've had success in. It was impressive. It also angered me. It made me feel small, but I was going through the list of, sitcom, television, Saturday Night Live, film. I mean, Broadway. It's somehow less cool when you help me with it. The Oscars. I mean, there are a lot of entertainers where I can say, okay, they've done well in these two slots, they've got those covered, but you've had this absolutely stunning career. And so I was thrilled when you said you'd come in and talk.
Oh, yeah.
Because my introduction to you as a real human being, as a physical person, was I was a volunteer on the very first Comic Relief.
Really?
I had just gotten a job, my writing partner and I had just gotten a job at Moffat Lee in August of 85. And not long after that, they said, we're doing this thing, Comic Relief. It's going to be the first one. The hosts will be Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, and Whoopi Goldberg. And everybody came out, and I was a gopher on that. But I remembered seeing you guys, seeing Robin, seeing Whoopi, I was 22 and had just arrived in LA, staying in a $380 a month apartment, where I still live. But I remembered that seeing a limo pull up and Jerry Lewis step out, holding a small white dog, which is something egotistical people do in movies, but not in real life.
And not only that, that dog, Jerry would put the little doggy treat in his own mouth to soften it up, and then go, "Here, Bobby, here." That's what he would do.
But I remembered that event. Everybody came out.
Yeah.
My introduction to comedy that really made me want to do it was when 10 from Your Show of Shows was released as a movie with Sid Caesar. And I watched, my father took me to see it. I might have been 12, I don't know. And I said, whatever this is, I have to get in on this. And Sid Caesar was there. And I got to walk up to him and tell him how much he meant to me. So you were a big part of my introduction to this whole world.
Well, so was Sid for me. That was my show. I was 5 or 6. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. Mm-hmm. My family was in the music business. My dad produced phenomenal jazz concerts. The family business was this little record store called the Commodore Music Shop on 42nd Street between Lexington and 3rd. And it was the hangout for jazz artists. There was my Uncle Milt, who's in a, this you can cut out.
No. We're going to keep in this. You're softening up a dog treat right now. Jerry's dog is still alive.
Here,
even though
Bobby.
Jerry is.
Here, Bobby. Here. He said for that. He said, no poop. No poop. Said, good boy. Who's the best little Jew dog? And my uncle started this label, the Commodore Jazz label, which was the first independently owned jazz label of its kind. And he started producing his own records, one of which became Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday. All of these great jazz artists. But my parents were comedy, just mavens. My mom, for a little while, was the voice of Minnie Mouse in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades.
I didn't know that.
They met at Macy's, and she was the voice of Minnie Mouse. The float would come down Fifth Avenue, and she'd be sitting somewhere under Minnie's skirt that's flying in the air, singing her song, which was at the time, I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles. They were always funny, and they really knew that the three of us, we had a shine for it. So they'd let us stay up late to watch, in the beginning, Show of Shows, which then later evolved to Steve Allen on The Tonight Show, Jack Parr, Ernie Kovacs was a huge influence. But it was an episode of 10 from Your Show of Shows. They're doing a takeoff of The King and I, which had just won Best Picture. And so they have, kind of cheesy palace set. And then Sid, who is just the Charlie Chaplin of television, comes out in a bad bald wig, capri pants, barefoot, strikes the pose, then starts screaming at the top of his lungs, grabbing his foot, "Who's smoking in the palace? There's no smoking in the palace." And I just felt I was doing that constantly. And then the Show of Shows, to me, the classic sketch was This Is Your Life.
Yes.
Al Duncy.
Yes.
And
which is the sketch that got my attention too in that movie. The movie's a collection of sketches, but yes.
When Howie Morris comes out as Uncle Goopy and starts crying and jumping on Sid, and Sid was very strong. He would drag him around the room. They'd look at each other and they'd scream and cry and they'd separate. Then they'd go back on top of each other. So when my dad would come home from the store, I was 4 or 5, 6 maybe. I'd jump on his back and cry, and he'd throw me into bed. I was Uncle Goopy. That show, when Sid came, I introduced myself.
This is Comic Relief now, 1986? Maybe?
Yeah. And I have a picture with the cast, in the cast of Show of Shows. And when I was most recently on Broadway with Mr. Saturday Night, I had an 8x10 of that picture, and that was the last thing I looked at before I would go on stage every time, because that was the scent that I followed all of these years.
I told you before we started rolling that The World's a Little Blurry. I really love that documentary because it's about the process. And I love anything that shows both sides of fame, success in a realistic lens. And what first of all, the gap between the journey between you two in a bedroom. You put a blanket over your head sometimes.
I know.
Bickering, you prodding, having arguments, arguing with your mom in the kitchen. And man, are you intimidating.
I know.
When you're mad, I have, a teenage daughter. I get terrified. So when I'm watching the documentary, it's as scary to me as any horror movie because you'll just shoot those eyes at someone and you're not even trying. You're just staring at them. And if I were your mom, I would jump out the window.
I know. 16-year-old me is a scary thought. It's a scary sight to see. I mean, I think about myself and think about the people that I used to have to make them be put through being around me at that age.
Subject
and I feel very...
Yeah.
I can't even, it makes me sick to my stomach thinking about if I had to be around the younger Billy. It really freaks me out sometimes.
Yeah.
Scary girl.
What about you? I mean, Phineas, you seem, and this is just from the documentary and performances, you seem like someone who doesn't lose his shit, but do you sometimes?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Phineas is an incredible actor. Did you know?
Incredible. So I mean,
genuinely.
Are we talking about like backstage? Are you kicking stuff? Are you smashing things?
Ooh, should we tell stories?
Yeah, I think that's what we're here to do.
I was as a little kid, as like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, I'm told that I was very explosive, and I have a infinite supply of rage.
Yeah.
What an explanation.
But I don't think anyone should be on the receiving end of it. So I try to just, quell it. I try to go empathy first, but there's always rage below it. My friend Ricky always reminds me that at one point he said, "Do you have a lot of rage?" Which is a testament to like being around me too much, maybe to see me sort of at the Guitar Center staring off into middle distance. And he said, "Do you have a lot of rage?" And I said, "Are you joking?" That was apparently the thing I said.
That is all I have.
But I don't scream at anybody. True or false?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
My team will disagree. I have no anger issues.
Are you an asshole?
You're a total asshole.
You know what I am?
Passive aggressive.
No, are you an asshole?
I don't think I'm. You guys can back me up.
No.
I am not an asshole. I don't think.
Everyone
But
whose mortgage is paid by.
yeah.
I know.
Now remember, before you answer,
Yeah.
your checks don't come out till Monday.
I saw a full panel of people vigorously
You're
shaking
not an
their head to
asshole.
keep their
No.
job.
Can we meet you behind the
Jesus
building
Christ.
later and tell you what we feel?
Well, I think I've worked for him longer than anybody. And I will say he's not an asshole, but he has made an art form of being passive aggressive.
Because the way I grew up,
Yeah.
but the way I grew up is I do have, I relate to Phineas because I have a lot of anger. I have a temper. And I used to really get angry when I had a bad temper when I was a kid.
Sure.
And what I did is I grew up in a family very unlike yours where we weren't supposed to express
Catholic?
negative things. Catholic, we're not supposed to express, and no one was around saying, well, how do you feel about what just happened? There's none of that.
Yeah.
So
wow.
there was nobody expressing any of that. So what happened was there's a lot of pent up anger. And what I learned is you could express anger in this, I could let it out like a teapot. There's a little hole
Steam.
that it's coming out, but it's shooting out at great force, and it's passive aggression. It's me saying, oh, well, that sounds like a wonderful idea. And people are like, fuck. And I mastered this thing of being able to talk to somebody for a bit who I was really mad at, and we had a pleasant conversation, and then I'd leave, and they'd think, I think we had a pleasant conversation. Oh, my God. I'm bleeding. He stabbed me with words 9 times, but I didn't feel it. So it's an issue. Yeah, it's an issue that I have to work on. But I don't think you can have creativity without some
Internal rage.
You have to have.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that has
I
been.
think you have to be a little tortured. That's what I think.
Yeah, you have to be there's some great quote, and I'm misquoting it, but it was like a lot of the world's great work has been done by people who didn't feel quite well. You know, it's like
It's true.
I think the caveat there is that it's this slog and it's this challenge, and then sometimes it's effortless for 2 hours. Do you know? Does that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
like we had that yesterday. We've been slogging through writing for months. And yesterday
time.
we had a couple hours where it was the faucet was on. It was
Yeah.
really easy.
Yeah.
But mostly it's not.
I feel bad that I interrupted your great creative flow and you had to come here and do the podcast.
It was yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
What if it was
fine.
going really great and they said, you got to do that Conan podcast?
We'd do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, they have to say that
I
now.
know,
They're
but we'd do
here.
Yeah, I know,
do
but
it.
then their fans would be like, "What did we miss out on?" By the way, have you played Have you played Bonnaroo?
Uh-huh.
We've done all of them.
You've done all of them.
Pretty
We
much,
did.
yeah.
Sona, you were with me when I did Bonnaroo
Yeah.
Oh, because they make.
years ago.
Yeah.
And it was
What the hell?
trench war. It was like
was
trench warfare. It's all
disgusting.
mud. It takes place in the summer in Tennessee.
You're in a tent.
You're in a tent, no, and like what I noticed with your fans is they love to get their hands on you, and you're very generous about hugging people. I'm the same way. I don't mind hugging people. Huge mistake at Bonnaroo.
They're moist.
Nobody had had a shower in a week.
Oh,
and a
yeah.
half.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Naked and moist.
Stinky.
There's a lot of naked, and disgusting people.
Yeah. Yeah. But happy and high, probably. Like,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just, you know,
Well, you were high too.
I was. But not too high. I was
I would send
working.
you out for an iced coffee, and you'd come back with like a goose. Here you go. Oh, it's not an iced coffee.
Yeah, it was Bonnaroo.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good time.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I noticed was there's this difference between your fans who you love, like when they're telling you they love you, and especially these young women who you mean so much to, and they're going crazy and they love it, and then at a certain point when if it's hundreds of thousands of people, I would think it starts to get it's overwhelming. Does that
It's weirdly in a way underwhelming when there's more people.
right? Okay.
So like, I played my first stadiums over the summer, and I was playing markets that I hadn't played before, so I hadn't been there, so a lot of people wanted to go, and I didn't want to do, 5 shows in an arena, so might as well do a stadium or 2 stadiums or whatever.
Mhm.
So I did a couple stadiums over the summer, and like that was really exciting because I was like, ooh, I want to be in a stadium. It's so sick. It's so big. You're a fucking star. And then you're on the stage and it's like, you feel like you're just alone. And then there's like it feels like there's a printed out wallpaper
Yep.
of thousands of people because they're so far away that there's like no intimacy. I mean, I went to the Super Bowl the other day and I was sitting in a box with Adele. I know. But
it's what people do.
but we were talking about it because
Yeah.
she's,
I didn't see you there. That's weird.
she's
You know the name drop thing where people say the first name of the person and then they say the last name? Like you go like, I was on Conan O'Brien. Like do you know what I'm talking about, the name drop?
Yeah.
You can't do that with Adele.
No, you can't.
I was with Adele.
Adele is just Adele.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about it because she's doing this Vegas residency, and she's just, not to out her, but she said she's having the time of her life, and she's like, I love that it's like a 4,000 cap
Yes.
room, and she's like, it's so nice. I feel like I can be there with them, and I
Well,
feel intimate.
You outed
with
her
them.
for having the time of her
I don't
life.
know. She might not want that to be known. I don't know.
I can't write a song about that. This is what I have found is that when in comedy, there's this. It's the same thing as in music, that it's supposed to be the best when you get to a stadium. And I've obviously never played a stadium, but I've played some really big spaces, and I've thought, I don't like this as much. And then you think, what's the magic number? I think it's like 1,500, 2,000. Somewhere around there is the sweet spot of, I feel like everybody in this room, we're all connecting. It's an exchange.
Yeah.
Like if I say something that they think is funny, they laugh, and you can there's this nice feeling of, it's a community.
Community, yeah.
Once it gets really big, and there's a lot of things about success that are like that, where you're facing new challenges of, like, now you've got people that will people that will say like, okay, I want to do what you two did. I want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're trying to think of, but I want to evolve. I want to keep changing. I want to keep growing. And so you've got new battles that you didn't have 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I've been drowning in a pool of that recently. Just like, how do I evolve and what do I do? And, I feel like for the last month I've been completely just literally like drowning. I feel like because dude, I achieved the kind of things before I even was 18 that are, things that people work their entire lives for and maybe never even get. And like one of the things that I achieved is like one thing someone gets at the end of their life, and one of and I got all of them,
Right.
and I'm 21 now, and I'm at a point where I'm like, I've done it all. What am I gonna do now? And like, where do I go from here? And who do I want to be? Because I've also only ever been teenage Billie Eilish, and so that's the person I thought I was. And then I got to a certain age, and I was like, oh, that was teenage me. That's
right.
I thought I was being I was like, oh, I'm myself, and this is who I am, and it was who I was, but it was me as a teenager, and it's very strange to grow up and become an adult, and like the person that you kind of finally figured out how to be in like the perfect way that everybody thinks is who you are is yourself as a teenager. It's very jarring and hard to deal with.
Well, I was really happy that your parents came. They are outside. Yeah, they're outside. I wouldn't let them in. Your father got in here twice, and I had him taken out, and I had someone shave his beard.
Why?
Yeah. I like it. It looked really cool, but I have that kind of power. You're in my building.
Okay, right.
So, no, he's. I think one of the things that you two have that is rare, especially because you're both so young when this all started, when this was happening, is to have your parents there and have them be really decent people who have their heads screwed on right. It just doesn't happen. I think 9 out of 10 times it doesn't happen. And that's a godsend. That's really special. I mean, I'm sure there were moments where you're like, why are they on the tour bus?
Very rarely. It's really fun.
I love
They're really
having our
great.
parents out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment over the summer where I was having like I need to be an adult moment, and like I need to have space, and I need to have my own this and my own that, and I need to go on tour alone, and I need to do this and this and this alone. I want to be independent, and I do need that in a lot of ways, because you need that as you grow older. But then also now I'm like, well, I like my parents being around, and I like my mom coming and doing stuff with me.
Well, because Billy moved away.
I did move away.
And I think when you don't live with your folks anymore,
it's nicer to it makes you more grateful to do everything with them. So I'm like, now I just like I when I have a free night, I like go and hang out with my parents. That's the first thing I think of doing.
What is the pattern? I mean, I've seen it with my daughter, which is she was, very smart, independent, cool, artistic, and then I could tell we were getting on her nerves, and then she went off to college, and she'd come back from college, and she would ask us to do things that we know for a fact she can do on her own. She'd be like, could you pour me a glass of milk? Like, you mean the carton of milk that's right there on the pretty please? And you could tell like she just wanted to be back in that space.
Straight, this girl's drinking just regular milk?
No. She has a flask of scotch that she has on her that she pours into the milk. Okay. That's how we do it.
Makes
in our
it
house.
even weirder.
Yeah.
This is whole. We're talking whole milk, 2%. This is not even like an LA. I thought you didn't. Aren't you? Isn't she a Nepo baby? Isn't she on oat milk or almond milk or pistachio milk? You got this girl on 2%?
Yeah, 2%. No, I live in the Palisades, and I'm a celebrity, so I found a special.
Hi, my name is Ben Stiller, and I feel about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
Wow. Devastating.
I like that.
Devastating. Not even a word, a noise.
I think the last time I was optimistic or something like that. I'm just pulling it out
It
of
was
my head.
something kind of positive,
Yeah.
and this time, a noise?
Well, I was
And
trying
not-
to be realistic about the last time where I had all these hopes that, and now here we are.
Yeah, here we are, and it really hasn't blossomed, the friendship.
I mean, it's sort of kind of like treaded water for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's always there. And there's like a lot of love and there's a lot of, like appreciation of our history, but we haven't moved forward
No.
in time together.
No.
Yeah.
Not for lack of my trying.
No, I know.
I've contacted you many times through your people.
Yeah.
And I often get just, we'll get back to you.
Well, that's why I have people.
Yeah. But what's
Get
weird?
some people.
But can I just say something? What's weird? The people sound suspiciously like Ben. It sounds like Ben picking up and he says, "Let me get Ben's people,"
Right.
and then the people sound a lot like you.
It's like the guy from the Donald Trump who called into the Post.
Oh yeah,
Whatever that guy's name was.
David Barron or John Barron.
Yeah. Well, I've known you a very long time, and I was very excited you're coming in today because you're one of my all-time favorite comedy people. Your body of work is fucking crazy stunning. And we're going to talk about Severance, which was my favorite show. That first season was perfection, and I am delighted that Severance is coming back. So much so that your people said, I can watch a few episodes. And they said, you can watch a couple of episodes of this new season. We'll make them available to you. And I'm like, no. I'm rewatching season 1 to watch season 2.
Okay, good.
And I don't want to watch it on a computer.
Yes.
I don't want to watch it. I want to watch it because I think the direction, which is I know some other people direct, but you direct the majority of these episodes, is absolutely fantastic. The art design, the acting, the whole thing is through the roof.
Thanks,
it's
man.
deletful.
Thank you.
And
Conan, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No,
that means a lot because you know how much I respect you. Seriously.
Well, I'm
joke.
Well, now people think it's a joke because you said no joke.
I know. I said
So now
no joke too quickly or something. I don't know. I think seriously was the first place I went wrong. And then no joke was trying to say that.
Yeah.
Too many qualifiers.
We're gonna talk about it because anyone who's listening to this right now, if you're not watching Severance, if you didn't see season 1, go and watch it. It is it's just, I think, flawless. And there's so many images in it, moments in it, and it's got me thinking about so many things. So I'm very psyched for season 2. But along those lines, I just wanted to go back to, I'll just touch on it. Met you for the first time. We mentioned this last time, but I think it bears repeating. I met you when you came to SNL, and right away was doing one of the funniest things I had seen when you played a grown-up Eddie Munster. With the whole outfit, but you're jaded now.
Yeah.
You had done a Tom Cruise film, which was a parody of Color of Money, and I looked at that film and I remember thinking, well, why isn't this is what Saturday Night Live should be? Which later on, if you look at what Please Don't Destroy and a lot of the shorts from Lonely Island, it became more shorts. These short films, which are just, became more and more of the DNA of the show.
Yeah.
Which I remembered when you first came along, I remembered the first thing I saw you do was that short that you had made, I think yourself, self-funded or something.
Yeah, I made it on my own. And
Is it before Ben Stiller show?
Yeah, no, this was before anything. I was in a play called The House of Blue Leaves off Broadway, and the play was doing really well, and it moved to Broadway. And John Mahoney was in it, and Stockard Channing, and Chris Walken, and all this amazing cast. And I made this short takeoff with these two guys, Steve Klayman and Ralph Howard, and I kind of put all my money into it that I was making from the show. And we made this short, and then we were like, okay, let's take it somewhere. And this was, it's just a proof of how old I am, and we are, is that...
Not me.
No, not you.
I met you when I was 4 years old.
I know. I forgot.
I'm 39 years old.
But there was nowhere to go. There wasn't anything to upload it to at that point. So it was like a video cassette, and Lovitz had come to the show. He'd seen the show, and And I reached out to him because he came backstage afterwards and he knew my parents and was very nice. And he, and I reached out. I said, hey, I've got this short. Is there any way you could get them to take a look at it? And he literally met me in the lobby at 30 Rock and took the video cassette upstairs.
I remembered watching it. All of us were blown away. Your Tom Cruise impression was fantastic.
I couldn't believe that they were putting it on the air because there was nobody from the show in it.
Yep.
And it was Jim Downey.
Yep.
Jim
Downey, great, who's been on this podcast, amazing head writer. And he just, when he saw something that was great, he knew this has to just be on. I find it so interesting that people can go back and look at that Color of Money parody that you did, and you should look it up and check it out. But to me, it was saying, it occurred to me today, oh, this was the way to go. You were ahead of your time, in my opinion. Like it's.
I don't know. I was just sort of like, honestly, I've probably talked to you about this before, that, it was for me trying to do what Albert Brooks, who I think was ahead of his time for sure.
Very much so, yeah.
In terms of like what he did, his first movie, Real Life, which was about reality television and making fun of it. And what he had done on the show and watching that when I was younger and wanting to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting to me that you when I first saw you were doing a spot on Tom Cruise impression. And then you flash forward all these years with Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise plays this executive in Tropic Thunder. And it is I've talked to Tom Cruise about it. It is one of the funniest cameos. He comes out of nowhere. And I know that he came to you when I don't know if you approached him about playing this character and said, what's the character's name? Is it Lou?
Les Grossman.
Les Grossman.
Yeah.
He had like two
Jewish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never really stated, but it's kind of implied.
It occurred to me now. That's a Jewish name. But he had requests, right? He had two requests, which was, correct me if I'm right, or you could say he wanted his hands.
Yeah, he wanted to have big, thick forearms that were hairy.
And
he wanted to be Jewish,
and he wanted to,
and he wanted to dance,
and he wanted to dance,
yeah.
And so,
again, Jewish.
What's crazy to me is that when he said those things to you, you might have been thinking, "Oh, what? I don't know." Did you right away say?
No, I was. I mean, it's a strange set of circumstances the way that this happened. We had done this little short for the MTV Movie Awards where I played his stuntman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we had met a couple of times over the years before that, but then we had a great time doing that together and had stayed in touch since then. And I had this idea for the movie for a long time. I had been working on it with Justin Theroux, and Eitan Cohen came on later, and we finally had the script, and I had talked to Tom about it. And originally I wanted Tom to play my part.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I was like too nervous to ask him to do it.
Yeah.
Because he's Tom Cruise.
Sure. Yeah.
He has other stuff to do.
Yeah.
And we were friendly and hanging out. He was so nice and like just the greatest guy. But I didn't want to bother him really with this. And, but I eventually sent him the script and he was like, this is great. I'd love to be a part of this. And I was like, well, maybe you could play, there's like an agent role. And he's like, well, no, I've played an agent before.
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
And he said, but it was his idea, this character. He said, you don't have a studio exec in the movie.
Perfect.
Yeah. So this was like 3 months or maybe like 2.5 months before we started shooting. And Justin and I were like, well, Tom is, would like to be in the movie. And he had this idea of playing a studio exec. And so we went back and came up with Les Grossman. And it changed the whole plot of the movie, but made it so much better.
This leads me nicely to Severance, because I'm lucky enough to be friends with and encounter people all the time, especially in the comedy world and acting world. And so I kind of semi-know Adam Scott. And my wife and I watch Severance when it comes out. And shortly after that, I see Adam Scott and I said, that was the best thing that's been on television in memory. That was fantastic. And he was like, oh, thanks a lot, man. And I was like, no. And I think I put my hand on his chest.
Oh.
Like, no.
Jesus.
You don't understand. Like,
Why?
I know there's a show business thing. Well, I wanted have you felt his chest? Adam Scott's chest?
I have not.
Well,
no.
you haven't lived then.
Okay.
No, but the way there's a show business thing of, hey man, I saw your thing. It was really good. And it's you'll say it about me at some point, but
That's so sad.
but it'll come out naturally, or we'll edit it in.
And I'll touch your chest.
But it was very important to me to let him know, no, I'm not doing that thing.
Right.
I'm doing this other thing where, and he was, appreciative, I think, and then just wanted to get away. But the quality of the storytelling, the intricacy of it, the respect it has for the audience, it's so smart, and there's so many layers to it that I've gone into deep dives where people discuss, just various levels of it, and it all holds up because when you put that much thought into something, it's really beautiful when people appreciate it and see it, and start to go like, oh, wait a minute, what do you think's going on? And the whole concept of severance is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, that's great to hear, in that the trust you can have for the audience, which you have to sort of like take a sort of runner on and kind of, just go, okay, I'm going to believe that they're going to get this. But, you never go bad when you don't underestimate the audience.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because people are smart, and especially now, people watch television so closely and they appreciate it so much and they look forward to it. And so that's a great thing to know, that people will pick up these little things. But we made the show in a bubble during COVID. With you make the whole series and then you put it out, so there's no
and
feedback.
you don't know. You've basically built this giant contraption and you put it out there and you don't know, is it going to work?
Yeah.
What if people watch the first episode and say, I don't care?
Right. It's not like the opposite of doing like a late night show or something, where you're getting feedback every day,
every second. Yeah.
Right. And so it was a great experience making it. And then near the end, I was like, oh, I hope people get it. I hope they like it. We've been working on this thing for a couple of years. Like, this could be either good or it could just be like, maybe nobody's going to even see it. And
the reaction was
it was great.
Insane.
Yeah, it was great. It's as great as anything I've been a part of. And, being in the business so long, like, you never know how people are going to react to stuff. And when it's great, it's so great, and when it's not great, it sucks. But but it's not that different, the experience of whatever you make. It was something that gets well received or not. You're still putting your all into it.
Well, I've always said it takes a lot of talented people working really hard to make something shitty. Yeah. Meaning, when you see something and everyone sits around and hate watches it or says this is bad, that was a lot of oftentimes very talented people working really hard, and it just didn't come out quite the way they wanted it to, or it came out at the wrong time, or
whatever it is.
Whatever it was. And then those same people can work on something and it can be absolutely amazing.
And you're all in on it the whole time.
Yeah.
So you can't go back. And it's just sort of like, okay, so this is it.
There are these moments I talked to you earlier about. There are always these moments in your work where I remember them. There's so many moments in the first season of Severance. First of all, the look of it. And there are moments where I think you as a director, the use of corridors and ceilings, like when I watch this show, I feel like I'm down underground and I'm in that place, and it's a very specific, the lighting, the look of it, the vibe. You've got these great wide, like flat shots sometimes, and it does feel a little bit like Kubrick or something. It's just like all the references are absolutely incredible and bears rewatching. Like, you can rewatch it over and over and over again. It's really hypnotic. Great. But there's a moment with the actor, he plays Lance. Is it Tremel Tillman?
Yeah.
There's a moment, I'm not giving anything away, where he goes into a dance. Yeah. In this first season, and it's my favorite moment in television of that year because it's not part of his character, but then he goes into this kind of dance, and the way you shoot it, and I think I've watched it like 20 times. I don't know this gentleman. I please tell him I'm his biggest fan. But that was my favorite moment. It was so it came at me in such a weird way from the side. You know what I mean? It came through my peripheral vision, and it was so fantastic. And the way it was scored, the music, and the tension building while he's doing this kind of what's supposed to be a joyous thing. It's sort of David Lynch. It's everything. It's like 15 different
it was
flavors.
A confluence of events that came together. I didn't even know he was going to dance like that. It's dancing.
Dancing is fantastic.
It's the same thing Tom Cruise dancing. Like, I didn't know Tom Cruise was going to dance like that.
Did this guy have in his contract, though?
No, but that was also, one of those things where it was just like, I felt the same way watching it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I love watching this. I could watch it over and over again. And I think as a director, you kind of, it's not like you want to like say, oh, my work is great. It's like you're almost like an audience.
Mm-hmm.
You have to act as an audience, and you're the sort of like, you have to make the choices based on being an audience that you're projecting would be watching something.
Yeah.
So I loved it too. I was like, I love watching. I was like, oh, this is really fun. I could watch this all day.
At the heart of this show is this concept. And again, this isn't giving anything away, because anyone who's listening to this, and you need to watch this show, but you also, if you haven't seen the first season, watch that. And the concept is people working at this company, and to go into this company, they descend and they're disassociated from their previous life.
Yeah.
So their work life and the person who's up above ground, they're the same person, but...
Yeah, there's just a chip that's inserted into their head, and it gets triggered when they go in the elevator down to work, that they don't remember who they are upstairs.
Yeah.
And they just know their reality at work. And then when they leave, the chip gets triggered again, and they don't remember what happened to work.
And you see there's a subtle thing you do with the lens when Adam Scott's going down the elevator, and... I don't know what it is. I don't technically understand it, but something happens where you can see the focal point kind of change just a little bit, enough to know that they've gone through a transformation. So everyone's severed from what's happening to them in the top of the world. And there are so many analogies to that, which is why would these people choose to do that? And one of the things, and I might be fishing here, but it very much felt to me like, oh, there's so many things it's analogous to, but one of them is... like alcohol or drugs, people that something happened in their life, they want to disassociate from it. And anyone who's had issues with drugs or alcohol knows that there's a reason you're doing that. You want to be somebody else because being who you are and feeling that's too painful. And it's just really, there's like 35 different scholars could talk about all the different things that are brought up in one way or another in Severance.
And that's all Dan Erickson, the creator, the writer, it was the first script that he had produced. It was a spec script he had sent around, and Jackie Cohn at our company, Red Hour, read it and thought it was good. And I read
That's a spec script?
That was a spec script, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's good to know, right? For aspiring writers. And he had this amazing idea and this amazing facility in terms of how, the tone of his writing. But I agree with you. There's that analogy. Just the idea for me also of these people are like coming into work and doing their thing and having their banter and kind of, it's very like kind of, like an office comedy kind of vibe, but they don't know who they are. They don't know why they're there, and they don't know what they're doing. To me, that's like the life analogy.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we're all here, and we get settled in and we figure out how to get through and do it, but like we don't ultimately know what it's all about. So I thought that was what was always resonated
and
for me.
The work they're doing is so, it's really funny. The work they're doing on their computer screens is hilariously, it is analogous to how a lot of people feel about their jobs.
Yeah.
I'm here moving these numbers around,
kind of widgets.
I don't, and it doesn't make sense when I watch it. It doesn't make sense. But when someone does it, they're like, "Good for you, you did it." And I think many Americans watching it would say, "That's what it feels like at work."
Yeah.
My daughter was role playing going to work the other day. I said, "What do you do for work?" She goes, "I push buttons."
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. She's going to go far, that kid.
Well, Dan worked at a door factory when he came out to LA, and that was where he got the idea, because he was just going crazy every day working at this door factory, and he wanted to forget about it.
It is a great message for people that, there are a lot of people that say, "Oh, it's all who you know." And it's like, no, if you have a really good story to tell and a great idea and you write it, the truth does out. The cream does rise to the top. If you put something out there that's of real quality, it's going to bounce around and someone like you is going to find it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get the access for people, to get that script in someone's hands. But I feel like in this business, everybody's always looking for that next thing, always looking for talent, looking for something that they're going to read and is going to excite them and feel new and different. And that's just always going to be. Also,
this cast you have. I mean, I mentioned Adam Scott and Britt Lauer is amazing and incredible in it. But also, you've got John Turturro. You've got Christopher Walken. I mean, you've got, and there's something really fascinating about this show, which is that people naturally, when they work together, want to create community. And there's something happening here at Lumen where they kind of really don't want people talking. They don't want people getting too close to each other.
Right.
And that's another mystery. And I think the reward of a show like this is that you get really smart fans online, and there are so many of them that are all arguing about what does this mean. And Eduardo, when I came in, Eduardo was Eduardo, you said,
don't fuck this.
Don't fuck this up. This is Severance, man. Don't fuck this up. And I'm like, well, Ben Stiller has been around a long time, and we could shoot the shit about a lot of things, and I do intend to spend half the time talking about Severance. You're like, you don't fuck it up.
By the way, Eduardo, I totally get it. I know Conan a long time.
He's seen me fuck up a lot of stuff. But I read an interview with Patricia Arquette, who's amazing in the show, and she has this quote about you as a director. It was just about your tenacity, how hard you work, how important it is to you that you get it right. It was really lovely.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Well, she's amazing. I mean, yeah, I think we're all going through life and I feel like a kinship, seriously, to you, Conan, because I know how hard you work and how much it means to you, but you're also trying to figure out the work-life balance, which is part of the show too. And that's important too. And I hope over the years, I don't know, last 20, 30 years that I've figured out that a little bit more because, you have to, there's a point where you work it, but then you also have to also then be able to step back and go, okay, I can only control so much.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I've heard you can only control so much.
I've learned the hard way,
Well, but I will say on a personal note, like when you walk in the door, you seem happy.
Yeah.
And I know that you're someone who, one of the, maybe the subtitle of this podcast could be, sometimes I want it to be careful who you envy. Like I want to talk to people and let everyone know everyone's got shit. Everyone has got things that they're dealing with. And predominantly I get to talk to people like yourself who are very talented and have done this amazing work. And you're trying to figure out most of the things that everyone else is trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And so when you walked in after all these years to see that you look great, you seem happy, this is incredible work you're doing. And I love that you're able to say to yourself, yeah, I can go back and be in something again. I think you're going to go back and maybe do a cameo in...
I'm doing Happy Gilmore. I've got this little movie I did with David Gordon Green called Nutcrackers. It's on Hulu. And we did super low budget and it was really fun. Yeah. I mean,
but you can dip into that when you want, but you can enjoy this and also enjoy your life.
Yes. Well, that's the big part of it. Enjoying your life. I mean, and that's
and you and I are talking about it as if we don't know what that is.
I know, exactly.
We've heard tell of this life thing. Exactly. My agent tells me my children are thriving.
You guys are severed.
Yeah, we are severed. We don't know what's happening. I think I'm told I have kids. I have to go up in the elevator and your kids are older too. I mean, my daughter's 22, my son's 19, and they will tell you, they'll give you feedback on how you're doing, and I appreciate it. And we've actually, working on the documentary, I interviewed both my kids and Christine, and, we talked about stuff that's worked in our lives and stuff that hasn't worked in our lives. And my kids were very honest with me, about times when my work
I put my work in front of the family.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that I'm at a place now where I still like have these relationships with them that we can work on and talk about that stuff and, and adjust because it's true, it's cliche, but it's true. But like at the end of the day, that's what it's all really about. My joy comes from working and being creative, but sharing that with my family. And like, if you like going home and not having anybody to share that with, I've had that because Christine and I were separated for a few years.
That's right.
And if that's the right thing for people, sometimes that's the right thing. But, for me, being together with her and our family being together, I'm so much more appreciative of it. So I feel really grateful.
Well, I am delighted for you. I'm really delighted.
I figured it all out. I have no problems. And
why are you crying? You're crying as you say it, and it's tears of blood. It's just fucking weird. I've just figured it all out. Ben, just absolute joy to see you again. And
you too, man.
I'm so delighted for you. I really am. I'm genuinely, and I have a very just nice, funny little memory of I lived predominantly on the Upper West Side for years. All those years I was doing late night, and for some reason I would always run into your mom on the Upper West Side, and she was so lovely to me and such a real person on the Upper West Side.
Yes.
Such an Upper West Side
and a fan of yours. She loved.
She was absolutely. We Catholics have to stick up for each other.
By the way, I just have to say also, there is one scene at the end of the last episode of season 2 of Severance that I'm really looking forward to you seeing. Because I feel like you, of all people,
I will text you.
Yeah, no, will appreciate this little scene.
Okay.
And it might even seem to others who watch it maybe weird or indulgent, but I feel like it's like made for you.
If it's weird and indulgent, if it's weird and indulgent, I'm going to love it.
All right, good.
That's what you are, weird and indulgent.
Okay, I think I spelled it out enough.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
And congrats on Severance.
Great to see you. Thanks, man.
I heard you were working on a documentary about your parents. I grew up watching your parents, the great Ann Mira, Jerry Stiller, and I remember they were kind of ubiquitous when I was a kid. I thought they were really funny. I'd see them on like Love American Style, or they'd be in ads.
Yeah.
And I just knew, these are these really funny people, but I didn't know exactly who they were. And then later on, they came on the show in their own right. Of course, your dad was on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Very well known that way. And
yeah, I mean, they were a comedy team, and, they started in the late 50s, early 60s, and were two young actors who met and fell in love, got married really quickly, and then became starving actors in New York. And after 5 or 6 years, tried to figure out a way that they could make some money. And my dad was the guy who always wanted to be a comedian, grew up during the Depression, idolized Eddie Cantor, people like that. And my mom wanted to be a serious actress, but she was really funny and really talented. And my dad had this idea that they should do an act. So he pulled her into it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
did they do like Sullivan and all those shows?
They did. Yeah.
Wow.
They did
Okay.
Ed Sullivan. I think it's 30. I always get it wrong. It's like 36 or 37 times.
Wow.
And it kind of made their career.
Yes.
And that's a big,
I had a memory. I have a sense memory of them because there was that era where a comedy team could come into people and talk about like half the country would be watching them do a routine.
No, I mean, it was, that's part of the story is that, the pressure that was on them as live performers, which, a pressure, as, doing what you do. But for them, not like every time they went out, they had to get re-invited back by Sullivan, and they had to do well. So, that was, and they had to do like 5, it wasn't like 2 minutes. It was like 6 or 7 minutes,
It's hard for people to know now because there's an infinite number of outlets. So there's no such thing as, well, I came on Conan, or I came on one of Conan's late night show a couple of years ago, and he wasn't pleased, so we're through in the business. Well, no. There's a billion other places to go. There's no such thing as, you're through, kid, you displeased me.
Right.
But this was a different era where if Sullivan didn't like you, and there was a problem, that was it. That could be it.
Yeah. And luckily he liked them. They did a number of different sketches every time they come out. But then they finally hit on this one sketch where basically they played off the fact that my dad was Jewish, my mom was Irish Catholic, and they had, it's these two characters meeting off of computer dating, and it was Hershey Horowitz and Mary Elizabeth Doyle.
It's funny now. Still funny.
And it was controversial at the time because, they didn't know if people would go for it. But Ed Sullivan's wife, he was Catholic, but his wife was Jewish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he loved it. And that was sort of, he kept on inviting them back. And that's, but, you're in the documentary because there are so many, these talk show appearances. I'm kind of also looking at it through the lens of, for me over the years being asked about them, and so many times and really trying to figure out like, well, what is it like? What was it like being their son? Who were they? What was, what's the core of what my experience was with them as parents, and stuff I never really questioned until you start doing something like this and you start looking into it. But we went on with you once, and there was a bit that I was sick and my mom was taking care of me, and my mom and dad came out with me on the show.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. And then I have to tell you another thing too. So I've been working on this thing for like 4 years, and as a documentary develops, you start to, I've never made a documentary before. And what I'm learning is that as it goes along, you start to figure out really what it's about through the process of editing.
Yeah.
And then you think it's one thing for like a year or two, and then you realize, oh no, I got to have more of this story, or, I have to have more. For me, it's been more of like, personally, like really like getting into like what's my experience with them, because I'm the one making the movie. And we figured out this part of it that I've always felt, which was my dad on Seinfeld was he was so angry, right? And that was what was so funny, was to see him blow up and scream and
so
yell.
funny shouting. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. And I always felt it was because he had all this suppressed inner rage in him that he kind of kept down. He loved my mom. They were like, he was the most loving, generous guy, but he had to sublimate a lot. And over the years, doing their act together, the sort of the dynamic between them was that she would kind of like, shut him up a lot, like, Jerry, stop talking.
Yeah.
And I have all these clips, from the 70s of them on all these talk shows doing that. And I thought, when he finally hit it on Seinfeld, it was because he was able to let out all of that inner, all that inner.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And I was trying to find a soundbite to sort of, explain that, where he talked about it, and I couldn't find one. And I was driving home. This was like literally like a month ago. I'm driving home and I put on, your Sirius XM station, and it's literally it's a clip of my dad on the show, on your show. And you're asking him about, Costanza and why is he so funny? And my dad said, this was like literally, he says, as I turn it on, he says, it's because I had all this inner rage.
Jesus!
Yeah. And I literally like pulled the car over and like, texted my editor. And yeah, isn't that insane?
That's fantastic.
And we pulled the clip out, and it's in the movie along with the other thing.
Well, I don't give you permission to use it.
That's actually why I'm here.
And I'm editing this part out of the podcast.
Let's come up with a number, gang.
I need Conan.
That is. That's
honestly,
great. That's
I felt like it was my dad and the ether or something. Just like this moment was happening.
Well, first of all, I love that. I love that, and I do think that it was so nice that your dad got to have that role. And then he's in King of Queens after that. And so he has this whole...
it changed
and
his
there's
life.
a whole generation that knows him from that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is sweet.
He always wanted that. He had so much success with my mom, but then there was a period of time after, when being a comedy team was not something that was as viable in show business. You know, as you go into the 80s and the 90s, it's not like there's shows that are, like the Merv Griffin show or the Ed Sullivan show. It's just so they were having to figure out their careers separately. And then, Seinfeld happened for him in his 70s, and it changed, it just fulfilled everything that he'd wanted. And my mom, it wasn't as important to her because she was, I think, happier to kind of stay at home and write and, read biographies, do the Sunday Times crossword puzzle. but my dad, that's what was, it was, if he was so connected to the audience, to being recognized, it meant so much to him.
Yes.
Because he was so deprived as a kid. His parents, he had such a tough child. His dad was a cab driver. They moved 13 different times when he was a kid over the course of a few years. And, so he was just like both loving and needy, but like in the most generous way. And, they would like, someone come up to him on the street and, recognize him. He'd be with my mom and he'd talk to them for like 15 minutes. And my mom would be like, Jerry, let's get the fuck out of here. Come on.
This guy knows me.
No, exactly.
I'll do a dance for you, whatever you want. Boy, do I relate to that.
Yeah. I didn't get any of that, by the way.
Now, you had this period of time where you were working on the TV show Punk'd.
Yes.
And I'm fascinated
by this. That was my
this.
first on-camera job, and that was just still my favorite job I've ever had.
And why was it your favorite job?
Because I love pranks. I've always loved pranks. That's my version of, Mindy lies. I actually do the work, not judging.
Right. She can just say, that person
since
owns
high school,
Flemish armor, but he doesn't.
I love pranks. And here was a job where a professional team set up the prank for you. Mm-hmm. And you just knock the pins down. It was unbelievable. And Ashton Kutcher, this was I was 23, 24. I had only been in the writer's room. I'd started doing stand-up a couple years ago. I suddenly got some heat as a stand-up. I killed my audition, and I'm here with Ashton Kutcher, who loomed so large, especially at that moment. Now he's sort of an icon that has graduated. He's been around forever, but he was just bursting.
Yeah.
Like cover of People magazine every week. So cool. And I was like this comedy writer still wearing the kind of pleated khakis that you wear when you grow up in Boston. And he was like in my earpiece.
I'm wearing those right now, you asshole.
What to say to these pop stars that would freak them out. I mean, it was, as someone who loved pranks, it was a dream come true.
Now, your job as a performer was to play the reality of the prank.
Yeah.
And
it was great acting training because you have to be convincing and funny, and you get one take.
Yeah, and you cannot indicate
fired.
The joke, which is, as everyone knows who's worked in comedy, actually they don't know it, but they should know it. Don't indicate the joke. It ruins it when you're indicating.
And
that
since
something
I've
funny's
directed
happened.
comedy, a lot of people show up, great actors, great dramatic actors show up ready to do comedy, and they don't realize that by that philosophy that we both subscribe to, no, play the drama. Get the comedy deep down, but you play that reality. As soon as you play the comedy, it's not funny.
Well, I think it's what Steve Carell did so brilliantly was he's a brilliant actor.
Yes.
And he played every moment with complete honesty.
Yes.
As Michael Scott.
He could you could write him the most insane thing for a human being, that no human being grills his foot on a George Foreman grill because he wants to wake up to the smell of bacon, and then tells his office to treat him as a handicapped person.
Right.
But when he performs that, you buy it.
Right.
You see how a human being could do that.
And he's not rubbing his hands before the scene to say, how do I make this funny?
I think he is deep down. I think he has a writer brain that's coming up with the funny things to say, but then his actor heart is playing the drama of this human being and this terrible situation in that character's mind.
When you were doing these pranks on Punk'd, was there ever a moment where, because you can't break, you're not supposed to break in sketches, but people do. But if you're part of a prank and you're pretending to be someone who is a barista or someone who's working the counter at a restaurant, do you know what I mean? And you've got to play that reality, and you can't start giggling, or the entire thing is ruined. Yeah. Was that ever a problem?
Yeah, I've almost never. I think I'm a little too serious when I do comedy. I think that if you watch The Office bloopers, I'm almost never breaking. And I wish I had brought myself to the level of being about to break a lot, because I do think a lot of great comedy comes at that teetering edge. But I didn't generally have a problem with that, but I did watch something where I saw my face just bite my cheek to not break. And there was one outrageous, my mom hated Punk'd. But there was one outrageous one where Rachel Lee Cook was the actor. And she... so they always find like their vulnerability or their obsession. So she and Jonathan Tucker, who's a friend of mine now, was the accomplice. So he brought her to a restaurant, and she volunteered with the elderly. And we got a stunt man to be the waiter, like a forgetful waiter that kept messing up her order. And I was an asshole manager of the restaurant that was abusive to this elderly waiter and screamed at him for messing up the order, and then eventually started throwing him against the wall because he's a stunt guy and
Sure.
you can it's so violent. And yeah, watching that, I laugh now because I can't believe that we would do such a thing.
First of all, you just described my favorite day ever. It would be a joy for me
to beat the elderly.
Yes.
Well, to beat up people. It's so funny because
But to do these things and have to convince someone it's real.
Yes, it's
like
real.
What you were saying, the acting training is amazing because you have to be funny enough to, you're improvising
Yes.
because you're making up the stuff. You have to be completely convincing so the other person in the scene thinks this is the worst day of their life. And it's a high wire act because you have one take.
I'm not a natural prankster. I don't think that's something that I was built for. I worry a lot that someone will get hurt
Yeah,
or
that
upset.
apparently was not my problem.
I just do not have that. But the couple of times in my career that the writers have come up with something where I get to kind of inhabit that niche, I've been so happy. And my writers came up with something once that was a great idea, which is let's get a really good prosthetic person to make me up to be someone who doesn't look anything like me, and then I will run a focus group.
That's great.
To show people Conan O'Brien, people who wouldn't really know me.
How did you disguise yourself?
We got a really good prosthetic person who added a lot of weight and age to me, and I did not look like me. I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember it. I loved it.
And I was dealing with a lot of older people, and I was showing them. We intentionally picked stuff where I'm jumping around or doing the string dance and the monologue. We cut together this thing that would just look very alienating, and I was showing them this stuff, and they really didn't like it, and they were saying, "Well, we don't like this person." And then I started to egg them on by saying, well, here he's, I don't like to tell tales out of school, but...
Why would a focus group leader
I did.
gossip like that?
I did, but I started to
That's
tell
why
them,
it's funny,
I
yeah.
started to gossip with them a little bit about how I heard Conan O'Brien's not a good guy. And they were like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I'm not here to say things, and you didn't hear it from me, and this is just between you, me, and the fence post. I kept making up these crazy, stupid things. This is between you, me, and the fence post, but I'll tell you that I had dated Cher, and then I dumped her. And they were like, he dumped Cher? And they were livid. And I'm like, well, again, you didn't hear it but from me. I'm as quiet as an aardvark and an onion, but I'll tell you this much. And I was just trying, but I was so happy, and I would go on long tangents, and then I would say things that I heard about Conan O'Brien that were really kind of not great, other shitty things. And I had so much fun, and I understood the joy of getting to do that.
Yeah.
Getting to be...
You had a whole crew helping you. But
Yeah.
that's really, you carried that.
Well, it was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah,
It was so much fun, but I understand, because I grew up with brothers, I've always been someone who likes to roughhouse, to use a term probably no one uses anymore, because it's just a cute way of saying physical abuse. But I loved roughhousing, still love roughhousing, and so the idea of,
No,
I will wrestle you before this is over, and you'll be very uncomfortable.
Rainn Wilson always wanted to wrestle with me.
Yeah.
During The Office.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I
look easy to beat. I think someone who hasn't wrestled in a while is like, why don't I start with you and then move on to Krasinski's bodyguard?
Whenever I was in a sketch with people, whenever I was in a sketch that called for me to punch someone and throw them through a wall, or for me to get punched and get thrown through a wall, to this day, even at my age, I would sign up for in a second. I absolutely love it. It makes me so happy when show business involves being a kid. Basically,
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
And when someone builds a fake wall, it's so great when a crew goes to such serious effort for you to do something so ridiculous.
So many hilarious people are part of that show. And my son, who has, I think, excellent comedy taste, in that he doesn't like what I'm doing, but really loves great shows. I've walked into the room and he's watching The Office, and he's mouthing along. He knows it. He has memorized The Office. Yeah. And that's kind of his comedy Bible, that and The Simpsons. And I think that's great taste, because what a spectacular show.
There is a music to it, or there must be, that people learn it by watching it again and again, the way you listen to a song, I guess. And it has no laugh track
Right.
and no music to it. So the dialogue, I think, becomes sort of the rhythm of it. But I learned all my comedy lessons from Greg Daniels, being in that room. And the care he has these sayings that maybe you have too, or I know you guys came up together, maybe you developed them together, but one phrase was, you don't eat your seed corn. Maybe he said that from The Simpsons. Like, you can make a joke in which it's like a farming term,
right?
That you don't sell out a character for a great joke in the moment, because you're going to need that character later. The attention to the people, to the realism. He also, in terms of it being evergreen, one time someone mentioned a year, and he said, and the show was not popular at this point, and he said, let's try to never mention the year, so that it doesn't jar people if they're ever watching it in syndication, or we didn't even know about Netflix then, you know. So I learned everything from him.
Yeah, I think there's proof that there's that old saying, God is in the details. That and there's a philosophy that if you, I first saw it with SCTV when I was a young lad. My brothers and I would watch SCTV, and that's where I saw, you know, John Candy and Catherine O'Hara and Martin Short and Eugene Levy, all these people. And they put so much thought into the comedy, and they would put little Easter eggs in there. And if you were paying attention, you were rewarded for paying attention. And I think doing that does not guarantee that your show will be successful.
Well, it's all the braver to do that, because you feel so embarrassed if your show doesn't succeed. Right. And you put so much into these details. And everyone's always telling you focus on the big picture. And you know, if you love what you do, you love focusing on those little things.
Also, I think if a show makes it or doesn't make it is so random. Great, brilliant shows have been canceled all the time. And if they survive, it's almost just sometimes an evolutionary fluke. And so I think it's good to put all that work, but I think there's into it. But there are people out there that think that all great shows make it, and they don't. Well, so many of them get strangled.
Can
in the
I
crib.
actually push back somewhat on that? Because part of the reason I wanted to work in television when I was like a teenager was I realized the most popular shows right now in the 90s, the most popular shows are The Simpsons and Seinfeld. And these are the smartest shows I have ever seen.
Right.
And they're number one in America. And it wasn't true for movies. It wasn't true for music.
Right, that's true.
The obvious best things were more niche in other fields. They survived, but they were niche. And I thought, that's where I want to work, where you can actually make the best thing, and it might be the most popular thing. So I see that a lot.
I think it did change. I do think because
it changed after that.
I came up in the 70s and 80s,
but you know, I watched Three's Company the other day, and there's some great. There's quality in even you're glaring at me. There's quality. Maybe I watched a really good one, but
I wasn't glaring at you. This is me aroused.
But there are things.
I'm very titillated by this.
When you had to have a hard joke and hit your marks comedically.
Yeah.
It kept people very honest. And on The Office, there had been, now I brought it back to me again, there had been so few or almost no, or maybe no successful single cam shows without a laugh track.
Right.
And we were terrified that we would become, and we watched, you know, single cam shows that we didn't think were great, and analyzed, like, we're not laughing out loud. We need to be as hard joke as you are with a laugh track, or like you had with a live audience.
Right.
And those shows that had a live audience, they had to get the laugh. Now, they also faked the laugh. There was a lot of junk, but there's more to that stuff than I used to think, because I hadn't seen that stuff.
I think, I think you are right that shows. I guess when I grew up, I saw a lot of brilliant shows that I really loved would never last that long.
Like what?
And well, I loved The Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. I thought it wasn't a comedy show, but it had comedic elements to it. But it was just a brilliant show, and I think it lasted a season. Marty Feldman had a summer replacement show that I loved that was just around for the summer. There were things that would come along that were great, and then, you know, the Love Boat and Chips.
Right, okay.
And I've gotten into this. Bill Burr loves Chips, and we've had it out because I maintain that Chips is a war crime, and and he absolutely adores it. And we've gotten into it, and I think I proved him wrong. Bill, if you're out there, you know you're wrong. But
He's out there.
They were solving jewel heists on the highway while on motorcycles. But that's not the point. There was just way too much disco music. That's another thing that bothered me.
Stop before you go on for a very long
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, there were a lot of bad shows that were the number one show when I was growing up.
Okay. And, you know,
But you're right,
Mr. Show meant, in sketch comedy, Mr. Show changed my life.
Yep.
And that was a small show. Nathan For You is my favorite show the past few years. And that has been building
Nathan
a cult
For You-
audience,
yes.
as a Mr. Show has too.
Yes. Those shows, I think, we live in an era now where if you put the work in and the quality's there, people will find it. It used to be a show, when it was gone, it was gone. There was not even, you know, for a long time, you couldn't even get a cassette of it or a DVD. Now
we have cassettes of it.
Now we have cassettes and DVDs. And that's proof that I know what's happening today. Proof.
You're so with it.
Thank you. I got to get out of here. I got to do some blow.
What?
And some lewds, don't forget.
And some lewds. But no, I know what I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I do think that, I mean, Nathan For You is absolute perfection. And I do think that that's something that eventually everyone's going to find.
Yeah.
It's got to knock around for a while,
Yes,
but it will.
sometimes you got to knock around for a while. But I do think that TV, more than other art forms, TV comedy more than other art forms, does reward quality. Not universally, you can't count on it, and you're not always given the chance to find it. The Office was almost canceled a lot. I know from stalking and circling you that your show was on the brink late night forever.
We were always just about to be canceled, or I think there was actually a meeting where we were canceled, and then they, at the end of the meeting, were like, okay, we can't cancel him just yet for tax reasons, but we'll get to it in the next meeting. Let's make sure we cancel him.
I love when your bosses are lazy sometimes. You know what I mean? Like they take the weekend off too. They can be like, oh, let's just leave it alone.
Well, that was one of the things that helped us was, I think it's much tougher for you guys because you're in prime time, but when you're in late night, especially in those early years, 93, 94, 95, we're on every night at 12:30 at night. A lot of people that are making the decisions, they're all in Los Angeles. We were in New York. They're not watching it. And so there's this general sense that kid, I hate that kid. Let's get rid of him. Stupid hair, stupid name. Let's get rid of him. All right, we'll get rid of him. Wait a minute. There's trouble with Suddenly Susan. We got to talk about that. Okay. And then I would, it helped to be way over in the corner knocking around at 12:30. That was quite helpful, I think, to our survival.
Yeah.
We both come from these goofy towns in Massachusetts.
By the way, I used to say I'm from Boston
Yeah.
until I saw Wahlburgers. I've seen every episode of Wahlburgers. And I'm like, oh my God, I am not from Boston. Like, if I ever ran into any... And Mark Wahlberg was like, oh, you from Boston? What part? And I'd be like, the thing is, Mark. I was like, this is the most exotic place I've ever seen. That's Boston. So I'm from Massachusetts.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. I'm from Massachusetts as well.
Wahlburgers is, I have seen it is a fascinating show. Anyway.
Is it still out there?
No,
Wahlburgers?
but you can find it.
All right. Get.
It's like Nathan For
Hey,
You.
listen,
It's going to build.
If you take one thing away from this episode, it's watch Wahlburgers.
So the thing about Wahlburgers, anyway, but yes, Alma, the mom, thinks Donnie Wahlberg is like the biggest star in the world, and that Mark is still trying to ride his coattails.
Yeah, she
and
doesn't know.
there's no convincing Alma. And Mark has this huge chip on his shoulder. He's so competitive. He's the youngest of, I think, 9 or 11. And he's always trying to best his brother. Still on the show, he sets up these whole episodes to show how he can kick his brother's ass in golf. And it's like, you're Mark Wahlberg. But he won't stop. Like, the show doesn't know what it's really about. They think it's about a restaurant. But it's about these unbelievable family dynamics and what powers a phenomenon like Mark Wahlberg. But yes, it's
always about the hamburger restaurant.
I'm here to
That's
plug
the message in life.
I'm here to plug a canceled A&E show. Is my point.
Donnie's bigger for me.
Yeah,
because I'm a big NKOTB fan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's where it's at. Mark is never going to build
he's
up
still
to
an
that.
underwear model.
Yeah.
So my parents they've had the same house in Brookline that basically they took me home as a baby, and it's just the house that I've been in my whole life. My parents have been there, and all my brothers and sisters. And when New Kids on the Block was a huge phenomenon in the 80s,
late 80s.
New Kids to us is like what Billy Joel is if you're from like Long Island. For
yes,
real. Yeah, there's stories, there's legends. No, for real.
So anyway, Donnie and I think two of them bought a house in Brookline, in this nice part of Brookline, and they had this house and they lived there, and girls used to hang around outside the house to try and go see New Kids on the Block. And when I got my late night show, 93, they're still a big deal.
Yeah.
And a year or two goes by, or 3, and I was always kind of wondering, they've got people hanging around outside their house.
Yeah.
When are people going to start hanging around my parents' house?
You thought that was going to happen.
I thought it was going to happen, and then once there was some like.
So you're hanging around outside, just seeing who comes by.
There were some two teenagers hanging outside our house, and my parents told me there's some people here that want to come say hi to you, and I went, well, I guess and I went out, and they said, yeah, we were hanging outside the New Kids on the Block house for a long time, and they didn't come out. So we got really bored and came over here.
Oh, no. You got their leftovers.
And they literally we didn't even need you to come out. Well, I'm here. Do you want some pictures? You want some pictures? No, we're good. Do you know how we could get into the New Kids' house? I really don't, but I could take you guys out to lunch. No, we've eaten, and we're lactose intolerant. Oh, do you want to come back later? No, we're good. Conan, invite them in. Ma, they don't want to come in. They want to hang around the New Kids on the Block house.
In 99.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's my story, and tells you where I'm coming from.